Jon Jones gets a win over Gustafsson, does some interviews that night, and said, I want to stay busy. I want to fight 3 times in 2019. Well, that was kind of refreshing, right? That was refreshing just because Jon can be a real brat sometimes. Anytime Jon is in what he deems a position of power, such as having the world championship, he gets very picky on who he's going to fight and who he's going to allow to fight him. He used to be one of these guys that like to use the word deserve. Well, he doesn't deserve it. While everybody else has to just sit at home and roll their eyes and go, what's deserve got to do with it? I mean, what's deserve got to do with anything? You failed 1,000 drug tests. Do you really want to play the deserve game? So fortunately, we didn't have to deal with that on this one. And fortunately, not only did he accept the fight, he accepted a fight with the number 1 contender, Anthony Smith. I love that fight for a number of reasons. Now, you can think that Anthony's going to get cleaned up, and you can think that Anthony's the guy to beat Jon. Before we ever get into any of the analytics and the breakdown, let's just look at the fact that the sport has to have a level of integrity. And if you are doing rankings, at times you must defer to those rankings. Not what a big fight is, not where the money fight is, not where the personal grudge is. Every now and then you've got to just look to the rankings. That's what was done here. That is what is best for the sport. That is what keeps the morale high amongst your locker rooms, amongst the athletes themselves. They like to see the right guy who's beat the right people and climbed the appropriate spots be given his opportunity. And that for sure was Anthony Smith. So, okay, great. I think you do have a little bit bigger talking point here, which is, can Jon Jones get a license in Nevada? Now, generally, in a situation like this, those phone calls would have already been made. Those lunch meetings would have already taken place. I understand all of those things. The only reason I find it appropriate to bring up is because, guys, less than 2 weeks ago, Nevada had a Jon Jones fight, and they kicked it. They kicked it on 5 days' notice and said, hey, we're not putting this thing on. The reason they kicked it is because Jon had a irregularity in his drug test. That irregularity in said drug test is still relevant. It's still there. It didn't go away. That never got corrected. That never got erased. That just got interpreted by another commission known as California that said, look, we get this, we understand this, and we are okay with this. But Nevada said no. Nevada put out a story of, look, we were just too busy. We couldn't get commissioners. I heard the whole cover story. Don't have the foggiest idea if that's what happened or not. Don't need to know. It's not my business. My business is just purely the answer. Can he get a license and fight, or can't he? And they gave us the answer. So no matter how busy they were or how many commissioners were out of town, they were still able to conduct business of a heads up, heads down, and it was down, which would just make you wonder why. So it was attempted to be explained to Nevada at the time that this is a residue from a previous test, which it is. That is accurate. He has not re-ingested. But Nevada is a all-or-nothing state. They do not care about the time of ingestion, according to Nevada. They don't care about a nanogram or a picogram or anything else. They want to know, is it in your system when you step into the cage in our state in a bout that we are sanctioning? Yes or no? Which would bring me back to my initial question of what has changed. I don't have the answer to that, but I do think that it still is up in the air for, can he get a license? If something is to have changed, I would assume experts were able to go in, explain what it is, and Nevada was able to sigh a deep breath of relief and say, okay, we're now comfortable with this. But either way, it's still a talking point. It's still something to bring up, and there'll still be some speculation, and there still has to be a hearing.